أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطاهرين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الحميد وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, today is the last in the series of lectures that we've had on the topic of Islamic perspectives on modern day issues. Today we're going to tackle the most difficult topic, and the one that's been getting a lot of favor amongst the Western press and to some extent even in our own community. And the question that we're going to ask, and the question that these people have raised, is why have religious authorities of Islam neglected modifying Islamic law to make it compatible with the changing circumstances of the times? So the finger is pointed at the marjas, the scholars, the leaders of the community, saying they've neglected to update Islam to make it more compatible, to make it more in line with the requirements of today. So the basic question is, does Islam have the answers for today and for tomorrow? And inshallah, as you've noted over the last few nights, we've provided answers to many of the difficult questions that people pose about Islam and say, does Islam address the issues of personal freedom? Does Islam address the issues of social freedom? Does Islam address the issues of the rights of women? How does Islam address the issues of slavery and racism? We've addressed many of those issues, and we provided in very summary form our answers to those difficult questions. But this indeed is a challenging question, and it's a challenging question because it's been posed by both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. People within our own community have been posing this question, and people outside of the community as well. As always, we refer back to the great minds, the great scholars in our community, and those that have passed. Allama Tabatabai, when he's asked this question, responds in quite a robust way. And let me relate to you his response. He says, Deen of Islam is the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In summary, he says, no one is allowed to change this religion, not the Prophet, not the Imams, not the scholars. This is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a strong, strong statement. No one, absolutely no one, is allowed to change this religion, not even the Prophet. And then he goes on to quote the verses of the Quran, which we'll repeat as well. Not even the Prophet can change the religion of Islam, not even the Imams. So who are the scholars to change? He starts off by quoting the verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah number 5 of the Holy Quran, verse number 92. وَأَطِيعَ اللَّهُ وَأَطِيعَ الرَّسُولُ وَاحْذُرُوا فَإِنَّ تَوَلَّيْتُمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا عَلَى رَسُولَنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger, and beware. Be alert, be aware. But if you turn away, then know that the duty of the Messenger is only the delivery of the message. Ala Rasulina Balaghul Mubin. The only responsibility on the Holy Prophet is to deliver the message. Nothing else. Surah Ma'idah, Surah number 5, verse number 99. So the passage continues. Verse number 99 clarifies this even further. مَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَبْدُونَ وَمَا تَكْتُمُونَ. The duty of the messenger is only to convey the message. Allah knows what you show and what you hide. This is a message, this is a religion, this is a deen that's come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to humanity. The role of the messenger is to simply to deliver the message to the people. Allama Tabatabai continues to recite many verses of the Quran to back up this argument. The plain reading of the Holy Quran will show you this, that the messenger was exactly that, a messenger delivering on the message from here to here. He did not say anything from himself to change the message. Also, he notes, in quoting the verse from Surah Ahzab, Surah number 33, verse number 40, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدًا أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ وَلَكِنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَخَاتَمَ النَّبِيِّينَ. He says that the message, that Muhammad is not the father of any man among you, but he is the messenger of Allah and the seal of the prophets. To say that the message has stopped at the Holy Prophet, this idea that the message needs to continue, needs to evolve, needs to develop, it has no basis in the Quran. You want to develop your own religion? Go for it. But to try to say Islam needs to change, he says there's no basis on that, for that argument. There's no basis for that argument. What does the Quran tell us, and what is the message of the Holy Prophet? It is the beliefs, Usul al-Din. Remember, there's no compulsion in religion. So Islam purely and simply presents the belief system and says, this is the belief system. Take it or leave it. But the belief system cannot be changed. No one can say, no, now let's believe in two gods. No one can say, let's believe in that the prophethood has continued. Khatam al-Nabiyin, the prophethood is finished. So the belief system cannot be changed. So what are these people asking for? If our belief system can't be changed, well, some people say, okay, not the belief system. We don't mean by the belief system. What we mean by this is to update the rulings about day-to-day activity so that we can live in this modern world. Shorten the fast, because we live in these northern hemispheres, make our lives a lot easier, allow women to take off the hijab. Hijab is not really prescribed properly. There's no rule. All of these kind of arguments to present. So then when they give up on the beliefs, they move on to the fiqh, ahkam. And this is a common misunderstanding of the role of the marja, of a mujtahid. I think there's a belief that the marja sits there and just comes up with his own opinions and writes them down as fatwas. A marja, to become a marja, first of all, takes many, many years of training and devotion and discipline. But more importantly, it requires a mastery of a number of sciences, but also a self-discipline and self-control. Not to allow your personal opinion to enter the process of ijtihad. It's a shame none of us really study this topic of ijtihad and how the scholars come about, how these scholars go about coming up with a fatwa. Inshallah, if we get the opportunity, we may discuss this topic at a very high level, a very simplified level, but some of the key stages they go through. The crucial thing in all of that process is for them to keep their own opinions out, their own feelings and emotions out. This is a process, very disciplined process. They have to derive the rulings based on the Quran and Ahadith. There are two other things they rely on, which is aql and ijma'. But it's not their aql, and it's not ijma' of the few scholars around them. Quran and Hadith. Yes, they can tackle modern day issues, and there is no limitations on them being able to tackle modern day issues, but they have to refer back to the Quran and Hadith. Quran is there, complete, and the Hadith are there. The Shias have one of the biggest collections of Hadith. There are answers for everything in there. Answers for everything. Just requires detailed research and analysis. Let's be absolutely clear. So there's no doubts at all. The scholar, when he issues a fatwa, is not doing it from a personal perspective. I believe. No, he's done his analysis. And he said, based on my understanding of the Quran and Hadith, this is the fatwa, this is the ruling. It's a very powerful statement. It's not the whim of one individual. And if a scholar ever tried to, on his own whim, to make changes, there's the wonderful thing about the Shia marja'iyat is that usually there's 2 or 3 very senior people. And yes, they may differ on a few minor things, but the bulk of things they agree on. And if someone does pretend to be a marja or is trying to make a ruling that is totally against the teachings, there are enough people to challenge, because we haven't centralized it in one institution. Over time, different marjas emerge in different locations. Generally, it's been Najaf and Qum, but in the past, we've had scholars in other parts of the world as well, in Hilla, for example. So marja'iyat is based on the attainment of the scholar. And there we do the taqleed of who we believe is the most knowledgeable of them. But they will not do it. They do not issue the fatwa based on their personal opinion. This is based on the deep analysis of the Quran and Hadith that they come up with their rulings. So just as the Prophet and the Imams cannot change the religions, the scholars cannot change the religion. They can analyze the primary sources and derive a ruling based on those. When a marja issues a fatwa, what is he saying? He's saying, on the day of Qiyamah, I will stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I will say, anyone who acted in accordance to that, I am responsible. It's on my neck. It's on my neck. It's a big, big statement. It's a big statement. So let's be absolutely clear that marja'iyat, that mujtahid is working within the folds, within the teachings of the Holy Ahl Bayt. They've taught them, they've laid down the principles that they use to derive the fatwas. They don't do it from their own selves. Now the question is, and we've discussed this at length, is Islam compatible with the modern world? Of course it is. Whether it's modern science, technological advances, of course it is. As we discussed, if you want to pay khums online, there's no restrictions. You can play khums online. There's a modern way of executing your wajibat, then do it. Today we're having majalises online because of the COVID situation. And since Sistani issued the advice and recommendation to everyone, and said, abide by social distancing, be careful, and this doesn't affect the rewards that you will get. But there's the Daliya from Imam Hussein. So we will fully embrace Islam, fully embraces technology. There's no problem with technology. So technology is not an issue. Modern science is not an issue. So where is the issue? Why do these people keep coming up and saying Islam needs to update? Allama Tabatabai makes a wonderful observation. He quotes a verse of the Holy Quran. He quotes from Surah Rum, which is Surah number 30, verse number 29. بل اتبع الذين ظلموا أحواهم بغير علم فمن يهدي من أضل الله وما لهم من ناصرين. Nay, those who are unjust follow their low desires. الذين ظلموا أحواهم بغير علم, without knowledge. فمن يهدي من أضل الله. How can you guide someone who Allah has allowed to err, to go astray? وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ, and they shall have no helpers. My dear brothers and sisters, if you look carefully at what a lot of these people are saying, they're saying it from their own desires, from ahwahum, from their own desires, بِغَيْرِ ilm, without knowledge. If someone says to me, I feel. Yesterday, I was a man. Today, I feel like a woman and I want to become a woman. How do you respond to that when it's someone's feeling? Or someone says, I feel that the fast is too long. Can we not fast along the lines of what they fast in Medina or Mecca? I feel. What is the feeling? How do you respond to feel? بغير علم. Their arguments are without knowledge. It's not rational. If there's a rational basis for their arguments, then let's have a discussion. Then there is room to discuss it. There is room for the mujtahids to go back and look at the primary sources and say, okay, is the ruling, can we come up with a different ruling? And they have analyzed what's going on in the world and gone back to the primary sources. That is the only route they have. Go back to their primary sources and reapply that ijtihadi process. Not change their minds. There's nothing to change their minds. It's going through that process again. This idea that the ulama changed that, no, they've gone through the process and they realized there may have been an error in their process, not an error, but there may have been a better way of coming to the ruling. They may have missed the hadith, which other people may have pointed out to them. That is a different process. But if someone's saying, my feeling and my emotions are this, how do you rationally come up with a response to that? You can't. And this is what these verses of the Holy Quran is indicating towards. Just because the youth of today want to enjoy their lives, are we to redefine Islam for them so they can go and enjoy themselves? And this, by the way, this is not a problem for Islam. This is a problem for all youths across all of the religions. They want to follow their lowly desires. They want to live a promiscuous lifestyle. They want to cheat. I'm not talking about the youth, I'm talking about the wider community. They want to do that. And what can a marja do? What can a mujtahid do in that instance? Nothing. Because that is totally against the teachings of Islam. So be careful what people are asking for and getting caught up in these debates. Be very, very careful. Quite often what they're asking for is not rational. If there's a rational basis for it, the Sharia will probably have an answer somewhere. But if there's no rational basis, if it's based on emotion and feelings and desires, then there is logically not going to be a response for it. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha in khutbah number 146, there's a passage in there when he talks about the time, a time to come. Whether it's our time or maybe a time in the very near future, it certainly talks about the issues that we're facing today. وَإِنَّهُ سَيَعَاتٌ عَلَيْكُم مِّن بَعْدِ زَمَانٍ لَيْسَ فِيهِ شَيْءٌ أَخْفَى مِنَ الْحَقِّ وَلَا أَظْهَرَ مِنَ الْبَاطِلِ. Certainly a time will come upon you after me when nothing will be more concealed than rightfulness. We'll look for the truth and rightfulness of what is the right way to live our lives, and we won't be able to find it anywhere. Nothing more apparent than wrongfulness. وَلَا أَظْهَرَ مِنَ الْبَاطِلِ. Batil will be everywhere. Everywhere you turn, you'll see batil. You look for haqq, you cannot find it. And this is really, really a strong statement, but it's pointing towards where we're heading. وَلَا أَكْثَرَ مِنْ كَذِبٍ عَلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. And nothing will be more current, and there will be such excess of this, of untruths attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet. Those slave markets in Syria that we talked about a few nights back, that ISIS came up under the banner of Islam. Where was that being attributed? Towards the Holy Quran, towards the teachings of the Holy Prophet. Falsehood, publicly, in the press. We all saw the headlines, we all saw the pictures, were attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the Holy Prophet. Lies will be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet. وليس عند أهل ذلك الزمان سلعة أبوار من الكتاب إذا طلي حق تلاوته ولا أنفك منه إذا حرف عن مواضعه. And for the people of this period, nothing will be more valueless. It'll hold no value than the Quran, being recited as it ought to be recited. It has no value anymore. The Quran has no value. I've said this many, many times. We don't give the Quran the value it deserves. Allama Tabatabai responded to what I thought was a difficult question with 3 or 4 simple verses, very plain verses of the Holy Quran. He said, look, this is the plain meaning. I don't even have to interpret it. Look at what the Quran is telling you. The Quran has become a book on our shelves, if we're lucky. Even that is beginning to disappear. How much time do we devote ourselves to the Holy Quran? ولا في البلد شيء أنكر من المعروف ولا أعرف من المنكر. And a message for us. And in the towns, nothing will be more hated than virtue, nor anything more acceptable than vice. First, when we look for the haqq, we cannot see it anywhere. It's hidden. All we see is batil. Then, Mullah says, what will happen is that in the towns, nothing will be more hated than virtue. Anyone who's virtuous, he's backward. He's too honest for his own good. He's too straight. He's not going to survive in this society. Nor anything more acceptable than vice. Oh, well, these are circumstances we live in. Of course you can do it. Of course you can lie. Of course you can cheat. Of course you can steal. Of course you can. Everyone else is doing. If you're not doing, you're very simpleton. Do you see how this is creeping into our society? And as we discussed a few nights ago, the responsibility is on us as a community, on the brothers and sisters as a community, to reinforce and to the message of Islam, to do the amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, to do that actively, to encourage you to, when you see something, observe, tell them. If you see someone going off the path, tell them. The support that we need today is not financial. I always say this, there's enough money in our community for anyone that needs it. That is not the challenge. The challenge is the emotional, the spiritual, and the psychological support that we need. The emotional, spiritual, and psychological support. That we don't have time for. You want money? We'll sign the money. We'll send the check. We'll do the online transfer. Easy. But no, what is really needed today, is to build a community and to maintain a community. And how do you maintain a community? Is within that to look out for each other, to provide that emotional. If you see someone going off the rails, step in, see if you can help them. Provide that emotional and psychological support, because that is essential for their spiritual well-being. My dear brothers and sisters, my time is up, so I'm going to leave you with this verse of the Holy Quran. We've touched on it a number of times throughout the series of lectures that we've had. It's from Surah Rum, and it's the verse number 30. فَعَقِمْ وَجْهِكَ لَلدِّينَ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Then set your face upright for religion in the right state, the nature made by Allah in which He has made men. فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليه. Turn Islam, the teachings of Islam are in line with our fitrah, with our nature. Submit to the teachings of Islam, the true teachings, not the arbab we talked about, the so-called lords that have taken, and then if we allow them to overtake us and we listen to them and make them our lords, then they will take us away from the religion. We discussed it a few nights ago. Be careful who you take Islam from. But when you get the true Islam, then when you submit, it is in line with our fitrah, with our nature. And as you submit to Islam, you will find that you will achieve an emotional, psychological, and more importantly, a spiritual balance, that you'll be able to face the challenges of this world. But we need to do it as a community. And that is a message that we get from Imam Hussein. He stepped forward. He sacrificed himself and his family for the community. He said, I can see the Ummah. I can see the Ummah is going off the cliff. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to wake them up? And that is a responsibility that you and I have today. What do we need to do first for ourselves and then for the wider community? What do we need to do to protect ourselves, keep ourselves on the Sirat al-Mustaqim? And then how do we need to work with the rest of the community? I'll leave you with these thoughts, and inshallah, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we may be able to implement the teachings of Islam, and He keeps us firmly on the Urwatul Wuthqa. We hold firmly to what the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.